1, 2, 3.
I'm VNC Red Leader.
And today we're going to have a very fascinating discussion about the three Anakins. But what are the three Anakins, you might ask? Well, I'm going to tell you. If you watch the prequels, the 2D Clone Wars, or the comics, or you watch the 3D Clone Wars, you will notice something very interesting. Anakin's almost a completely different character in those mediums. And even though he's technically the same character, the way he's portrayed is almost completely different. We're going to talk about each version individually, and how they inform the other, how they build on the character, and they all kind of maybe intermingle as well. So let's start.
So the first would be Episode 2 and the 2D show.
This Anakin's what I call whiny Anakin.
I would say Episode 3 Anakin is also whiny. This Anakin is whiny Anakin, but instead of the kind of happy, sort of swashbuckling Anakin that you get in Episode 3 in some of the novelizations that's kind of tired of the war, this Anakin is more of a mad attack dog with no real personality other than kill, destroy, kill, destroy.
We call 2D Anakin Psycho Anakin.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something I noticed if you watch like the 2D Clone Wars. Like that Anakin's a complete psycho.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you remember when he chokes the life of those what are Watcom Boars people again?
I'm blanking on the species, but yeah, when he it just suffocates them to save those Skako. Skako.
Skako and what was look like Skaro for
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're kind of yeah. He just like blatantly chokes them out. I mean, he disobeys Obi-Wan's orders to kill Ventress, which he fails at, but he tries to.
That seems just terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you like or dislike about this Anakin?
I like it brings up an idea that I think Clone Wars, and we'll get to that, does very well, which is, well, this Anakin is still whiny and kind of has no personality. He is incredibly violent, and you can see kind of where the Vader comes from. The problem is this Anakin, I guess, is kind of, I mean, he's still Proto-Anakin, or still Proto-Vader, so he's less refined. The problem is, I like seeing how much he enjoys violence, but the problem is he's so different than the Anakin that you get as Vader, because while Vader is violent, he's got finesse, he's got grace. This Anakin, I don't see becoming Vader. I see him having the violence of a Sith, but not of Vader.
I think the difference is Vader. I don't know if this has been characterized. This Anakin almost seems almost sadistic.
Mm-hmm. Well, Vader is too.
You see, I never got that from Vader. I always thought Vader is just do what you have to do.
Oh, read the Star Wars Empire Volume 1 that just got released, because he slows down a guy's heart, a Jedi's heart, to make him think he's having a heart attack, like to mess with him. He's really amazing in that book. And like and I think it's the Purge. Oh no, it's Last Command.
Yeah.
No, it's the Purge.
Something also though that's kind of a problem, I guess retroactively at least, is that it doesn't match up with the Anakin Obi-Wan says in
Mm-hmm.
talked about in episode 4. The great Jedi warrior and best friend.
Which is why which is what the next two Anakins kind of do a little bit better.
Yeah.
The problem is one doesn't have a balance to it, the other does.
Would that be your only dislike for episode 2D Clone Wars Anakin?
Well, he's whiny. And we're depending on when this gets uploaded, it might be different. But for us, we're going to later today do a Attack of the Clones commentary, and there are some scenes where we're going to be just laughing hysterically.
Or just going.
I don't know, dude. I mean, I hate the sand. It gets everywhere.
It does.
I can't even say it with a straight face.
I hate sand. It gets everywhere. It's poison.
So.
There, I said it with a straight face.
But yeah, so yeah, with Anakin, he's just whiny in a lot of ways, and yeah, it has no like finesse. Like he has no skill, nor does he seem to give a shit about his men, which is bad.
He has skill. I just think he just doesn't have finesse.
Well, he has no strategy is the thing.
Right.
Like he's just wailing on his opponents. He has no,
Right.
he has no thinking. He doesn't think during the heat of a battle.
Teenager.
Yeah, which makes sense. The problem is, does that actually make for an appealing character who you want to root for?
Well, the appealing part maybe for in the future in episode 7, but you know, we know what I've always said about Kylo Ren.
Yeah, he's Anakin done right.
Yeah. So the appealing part, but I don't know if appealing is the right word or sympathetic.
Yeah, I mean, he does kind of stab Han.
One's definitely not as tolerable as the other.
Mm-hmm. One's worth it. Like, one's worth sitting through the whining.
Right.
Because it means something. Well, here Anakin's just kind of whining. But yeah, so the next Anakin, or do you have anything more to add on this Anakin?
It's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's holding him back.
I love like a previous scene. He's like, Obi-Wan's so wise and amazing, and then he's like, he's so mean. And it's like, oh gosh, yeah, this Anakin's so pathetic.
So, I have a question though. What is the Anakin like in the Dark Horse comics and the 2D Clone Wars? Do they mesh up, or are they kind of different?
Since it was one project, since it was the the Clone Wars multimedia project was worked on by the same people, or if it wasn't, they were they were talking to each other to link it up. At first, he was really kind of this psychotic person, and I don't think it was until like the second omnibus. I think it's not until the Battle of Jibe, I believe it's called. With that I forget what the name is. You know what I'm talking about, right? Of Jaib, or however you're supposed to pronounce it. Or Jabimai. Oh, it's Jabim. Jabim. Yeah, that battle that's so iconic and everyone loves it. That's, I think, where Ostrander really got Anakin for the first time. And I think that's kind of the Anakin that we get in Clone Wars. But before that point, yeah, 3D Clone Wars. Because I think at first he's just 2D Clone Wars Anakin, where he's just a psychopath mowing down enemies.
In the 3D Clone Wars, or no?
In 2D and in the first about year or two of Dark Horse comics.
Oh, okay. Which is kind of funny though, because no one not necessarily reverts to that in 2D Clone Wars Part 2. Well, no. But,
He's still a psychopath because in part 2 that's where we get the yeah.
That is true. So it's kind of almost a bit of a disconnect there.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not entirely good. They probably all made it once.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's funny. We can call this the 3 Anakins. I forgot what the other 2 versions were.
The other one was the novels and episode 3.
Oh right, novels.
Which is kind of the Anakin that you get in bits of Clone Wars at first, and kind of the Anakin you get in some of the Dark Horse comics at a certain point. And hold on if there's a delay.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the first Anakin. That's kind of moved up. Actually, kind of the 2. You got movie and Psycho Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
Movie Anakin's kind of split into 2 if you think about it. So
Well, 3, but we're not going to get into episode 1 Anakin because he's really only in one thing.
No, we're talking about like episode 2 Anakin, episode 3 Anakin are kind of different too.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get into that later.
But yeah, so.
2 Anakin kind of merges with the 2D Psycho Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
But in episode 3 Anakin, I feel better merges with 3D Clone Wars Anakin.
And a little bit of in the comics and especially the novelizations or novels just in general.
I didn't read a lot of the novels except for Labyrinth of Evil.
Which is one thing I was going to bring up. I haven't read that, although I do own Dark Lord, Rise of Darth Vader, and I've heard both those kind of are more episode 3 Anakin, but kind of just explaining a little bit better how everything with him.
Labyrinth of Evil kind of retcons Clone Wars 2D in a slight way.
How so?
Because that book, I believe, leads into the Battle of Coruscant.
Hmm. But yeah, I've heard the idea is more kind of what you get in episode 3, where he's kind of tired of the war.
Right.
except in episode 3, he's a little too happy.
Well, let's go back a little bit because we're getting to the end of the war. Let's talk about 3D Clone Wars Anakin, which deals more with the center middle-ish. I'm not. Where in the timeline is that show supposed to be now?
Um, I think the Christophsis episode that takes place before the movie. I think that it's called. I think not Supply Lines. I forget what it's called, but it's like the episode with the cloaking device. Cat and Mouse. Cat and Mouse is what it's called. That episode with Trench leads. I think that
20 years before the Battle of Yavin, according to the canon of Wikipedia, they're not using the BBY system as of yet.
so about 3 years. Okay, so that's 1 year. I think the idea is supposed to be that it's within the first year of the war,
Right.
like at the end.
So near the beginning of the war, still.
Yes, which of course retcons kind of the whole thing from 2D, where he's only knighted months before the Battle of Coruscant, which I'm okay with because I've seen people say that in 2D, like, oh, but the war was supposed to be his rite of passage. But I prefer the idea that Ahsoka is his rite of passage. The idea that he has been knighted, but he still has so much more to learn.
Yeah, this gets to a big part of this version of Anakin's character, which the other versions don't have. He gets an apprentice, Ahsoka, and we like Ahsoka. She's the best character. Well, okay, maybe best character.
She's slowly become one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, that's for sure.
I like her a lot.
But yeah, so yeah, but we'll talk about episode 3's Anakin a little bit because he's
For me, episode 3's Anakin, like, I feel the whininess is somewhat down, but now it's just kind of
brooding,
and the acting doesn't help it at all.
Yeah.
We should talk about the voice actors too.
Oh yes, Matt Lander.
Oh yes, but let's talk about Hayden Christensen first. I still think if you just gave him a better director,
Definitely.
So yeah, this Anakin's like, he's a lot more brooding. He's brooding like Batman. I don't think he's a joke, but yeah, he's kind of bland as well. Kind of just, I don't know, maybe that's more of an acting thing. Just kind of doesn't emote.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of fits. I think the idea is supposed to be that he's more tired and stuff like that. Like, you know, he doesn't really like the war, which you kind of get in some of the later Dark Horse comics, and you get in episode 3, and you get in Labyrinth of Evil, where he just kind of wants the war to end so he can come back to Padme, which is where you get kind of why I say that it's different than the 3D Anakin, because in 3D, he kind of likes, not that he likes the war, but he's more, you know, fighting for the Republic, you know, and everything. Like, he's a little bit more patriotic.
Yeah, but to be fair, I think Anakin episode 3 has that patriotism in it too. He's definitely loyal to the Chancellor.
Yeah, but he doesn't seem to be as much like, he doesn't spend much time with his clones and stuff like that.
Well, to be fair, that shows did start like if with the new canon timeline adds up, then that show's supposed to start in the early days of the war. And to be fair, we don't really, because I know that in some of the deleted episodes, they were gonna at least they're gonna deal with Anakin feeling bad for losing Ahsoka and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean the Utapau arc that never got made. I've listened to it, and Lander plays it amazingly. Yeah, he's missing Ahsoka a lot of ways. Like like there's one point where I think he refers to Obi-Wan as Ahsoka.
Oh.
Where he's like, or Obi-Wan and him are doing something. He's like, "Hey Ahsoka, can you?" And then he just kind of like stops, and Obi-Wan's just like, "Do you want to talk about it?" And he's like, "No."
So I don't know if they would have done this. I mean, who knows? Maybe they would have, maybe they won't. Although Rebels might actually deal with it a little bit, that maybe its sort of wariness came after Ahsoka left. I mean, I don't want to, speculate or try to do some mental gymnastics here to connect.
Yeah, the thing is though with the weariness, he's also really like happy when when he and Obi-Wan are cutting droids up. He doesn't seem as much like he doesn't seem like the brave. He seems like a brave swashbuckling hero more than the very thought out general that he is in Clone Wars.
That's true. I feel like the the first half of Episode 3 Anakin and all of 3D Anakin, as I like to say, is the Anakin Obi-Wan remembers.
Hmm.
The one we talk about in Episode 4. Sort of that idealized version that we all had.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like Clone Wars, though, let's get into Clone Wars a little bit, where that Anakin,
I still like that Anakin a lot, though.
he's my favorite version of the character, 3D. And with this Anakin, he's a lot more, again, like he thinks a lot more about his troops and stuff like that. He's more, like, he doesn't care about the bureaucracy and stuff like that. He's just kind of like, shove it. But at the same time, he cares about, like, ending the war. It's not as much about ending the war as much as it's destroying the separatists and protecting his men. Like, it's kind of that idea of it stops being about the Republic's government and stuff like that and starts being just keeping his men and him alive.
Right.
And of course Ahsoka and stuff, and then and the thing is, you get a setup for Vader a lot better there, because with QD, he's just a mad, raving, lunatic psychopath guy.
Well, here's something both movie Anakin, at least Episode 2 Anakin does, and 3D Anakin, 2D Anakin does, and something that our good friend Captain Logan brought up. They kind of, he's already at the dark side already in a way.
Well, I think that's what I was going to go into, is 2D Anakin is just a psychopath. Like, he's already Vader, he's just not as calculating. 3D Anakin is the calculating Vader, but cares about his men. Like, he's what you'd get if Vader gave a damn.
Right.
Like, if Vader still had people he loved with him, that's what 3D Anakin is. That's where you can see, like those moments when he chooses, because that's the thing, is he chooses his, like that moment when he gives up the locations of thousands of children to Cad Bane to protect Ahsoka. And the thing is, he does that, even if you could justify, even if you could justify him doing that, it's not because nobody should die or anything like that. He does it solely solely for Ahsoka's benefit and his. It's selfish. It's not unsympathetic, but it's selfish nevertheless. And that's kind of, again, he is Vader, but with ambition. That ambition being to protect the people he cares about at any cost, which you kind of see when he's trying to get Luke.
And it's more tragic, I think, if you
Mm-hmm.
have a character you actually care about turn to the dark side than an already psychopath who just gets a fancy suit.
It's like Lex Luthor, where when you see in Smallville, where he does great things.
I didn't watch Smallville.
But what's great about Lex there is each time, like, even when he starts to, like, get away from his father's influence, or in this case, I guess Vader's influence for Anakin, he felt like the more he opposes, he almost falls deeper into the trap. Like, he keeps undermining his dad to get away from him, and then he keeps becoming his father, and becoming the Lex we know, and that's kind of what we get with Anakin here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I definitely like Anakin a lot more like you do, and he's definitely a lot more charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one you want to hang out with. That's my whole deal about him.
Yeah, which fits with what Obi-Wan said a lot more.
And I kind of like what they do with 2D Anakin as well, when that he kind of has like a little mini family. Well, he ran family with with of course Padme obviously, but also with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan
And Rex.
and Palpatine kind of, I guess,
Mm.
but the core group of friends.
And just the Torque company overall.
Yeah.
Like, those were his people. Again, it's Vader if Vader had people he was trying to protect and take care of. It's Vader with ambition.
It's Vader with loved ones.
Yeah. Because, again, he does really care about his men. And that's something that I think, kind of... That's why it's a different Anakin than Episode 3. Where in Episode 3, I don't know if he necessarily, I don't get the impression that he gives a shit about his troops.
Well, there is that one time when he wants to go back and save the clone.
Oddball.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, kind of. Although I think they do portray the Obi-Wan Anakin
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't show it enough. That was the problem. Like I love that scene where the final scene of them being friends together one more time.
Oh, yeah, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, or at least it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is Anakin like though in the novels? Like the last, the I always want to call it Last Command. That's like Labyrinth of Evil, the final old legend stuff.
In the kind of post Episode 3, uh, novels, he's a lot more like even when he's Vader, and in the Purge comics and stuff like that, he's a little bit more like movie Anakin, especially in stuff like Labyrinth of Evil and Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader, where he's especially Episode 3, where he's weary, he's tired, he doesn't really give a crap. Even as Anakin, he doesn't seem to give a crap as much. Uh, he doesn't seem like the he seems brave, but he doesn't seem like the larger than life individual sort of thing. And then when he becomes Vader, he's a lot more he's sadistic, but kind of goes into again. I think Clone Wars almost worked back in a way, like where it's not as much characterizing Anakin Skywalker and how he will become Vader. It's almost like they looked at Labyrinth of Evil, or not Labyrinth of Evil, at Dark Lord, the Rise of Darth Vader and stuff like that, and said, what would this guy be like without his, like, with ambition, with humanity?
Right.
So Clone Wars is almost based on the Darth Vader of those books, and just retroactively making Anakin like that, but slightly different.
Right. And they don't. Too bad that nothing really meshes well together, especially with Anakin's character.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Episode 1 Anakin, we just watched Episode 1 last night. He is not anything like these other Anakins. Except for the deleted scene.
That's true. He's boy Jesus. He's Star Wars Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And Yippee and Wizard.
Oh, yeah. Well, he doesn't say wizard, it's his friend who says wizard.
Oh. I wish Clone Wars Anakin said Wizard just for some good joke.
Well, I want him to come back in Episode 8 as a Force Ghost and say wizard.
Wizard.
He's like, that's unwizard, Ren. Like, you shouldn't have stabbed your dad.
He's bringing it back.
Oh, no. I wanted him to be like, he brought it back already.
Uh-huh.
Like, he brought it back, so now everyone says wizard. And they're like, why do we all of a sudden say wizard? Like, that was never part of our vocabulary. And then, like, we see Vader's Force Ghost, and he's like, I brought it back.
Why isn't emo Kylo Ren done a wizard thing yet? That's a joke right there.
Yeah, that would totally make sense, which, too bad we'll probably never get a Robot Chicken again.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to not being saddened over that. Yeah, with these Anakins, like, what Anakin do you like the least?
Probably Psycho Anakin from 2D Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Probably movie Anakin more though. I think the Psycho Anakin, you watch him kick some butt. And the whininess is more tempered with just psychoticness, which I can handle more psychoticness.
Yeah, I mean, I get that they wanted him to be, like, more kind of upset and pissed off and stuff like that at the fact that he was, the chosen one, but then the council didn't trust him and stuff like that. But I feel like Episode 3 almost does a better job of it, where, like, when he gets put on the council, or when he gets put on the council, but he's not made into a master, like, I kind of get why he's being like, well, this is bullshit, because they're manipulating him. And again, it's something that I think Clone Wars does a good job with, like, the episode with Sifo Dyas, where Yoda says that we're going to keep this from the Chancellor, and like you cut to Anakin's face and just the way he looks, where he's just kind of like, you can see he's irked by that. He doesn't like it, and like that's more subtlety. And I think Episode 3 does that as well, though, with the fact that he does turn in Palpatine and stuff like that. He's not just ambitious. He does care about the Republic. He just realized the Jedi want to screw him over as well.
Oh, agreed. I think 3D Anakin does the best in terms of subtlety, like especially when his turn to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like again. He doesn't kill sand people or choke somebody's crush somebody's rib cage.
Oh yeah, they almost act like that didn't happen. Like I mean, in the 2D comics, the first time, or not 2D, the just the comics, the first time he choked somebody, it was a fellow Jedi who was a Tusken Raider.
Oh yeah, who became a Sith Lord.
No, he just had red lightsabers. He was a good guy. He got killed though.
Wasn't Darth Krantz a Tusken Raider first?
Well, Darth Krayt's decades later.
No, they're the same person.
I'm pretty sure Darth Krayt wasn't. You keep talking. I'll look this up.
Ah, okay. So yeah,
Oh wait, he is Sure-Eyed Het.
yeah.
Huh. Oh yeah, the mouse. Wow, he did become a Sith. Holy crap! So Anakin should have choked him out.
Would have saved a lot of people's lives of 20, 300 years, 100 years later.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, definitely something 3D Clone Wars does really well is just they're much more subtle about the whole turning to the dark side thing, which I really like.
Like, look at his first Force choke.
In 3D,
Who it's to save Ahsoka, which again, that's why Ahsoka's there. People were like, well, she's just there for the kids. No, she's there because you need kind of almost like a reason why Anakin would start to fall, where he's protective and stuff like that, and I like that. Like the whole comparison between him and Luminara, where Luminara says, I'll mourn my apprentice if she's dead, but I'll move on. And then Anakin's just like, I can't do that.
right. At least the joke comes from a good place, unlike the comics where it comes from a hateful place.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's still hate, but
Right. But
instead of him being like, I'll kill you, he's just like, you know, he's smirking during it. Like, that's the thing. He's not psychotic evil, he's sadistic evil, and that's what Vader's supposed to be.
right. So here's a question: which version of Anakin gets called on for when he does his dark side stuff more? Clearly, Attack of the Clones never deals with that. Revenge of the Sith doesn't have time. And 2D Clone Wars never dealt with the fact he broke somebody's rib cage.
Well, I mean, he is already fallen to the dark side in those cases, but I guess Sith way sort of thing. I think 3D did a good. I think Episode 3 did a decent job. I promise just the reasoning, and it's too fast. But with 3D Clone Wars, I think that's the same thing as the Episode 3 Clone Wars thing with just his fall itself. Like, just it flushes it out.
Right, but that's easy because you have 30 minutes of nothing but you have 30 minutes and 6 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Advance there. Do you want to get into the books too? Like what was Anakin's
Which books?
Just any of the Clone Wars books that came out that dealt with Anakin. Like, what was his relationship with the clones there? The novels.
Most of those came out back in the time when the clones weren't really individual. So he kind of just saw them as tools, while, of course, you know, because that's the thing. A lot of writers wanted Anakin to just be Vader, but not wearing the suit yet. And I think that's where 3D Anakin is really good, where he's not Vader without the suit on yet. He's Vader, but with humanity, like with people he cares about.
He's an Anakin you can hang around with, not
Mm-hmm.
where you're gonna set him off.
Well, I mean, you're still probably scared of him, unless you're like Ahsoka, who completely ignores any of his problems.
And the Jedi, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I also think that 3D Anakin benefits because the clones aren't individuals; they want to be people, which I think adds a whole nother layer of depth. So you see his relationship with Rex, you see his relationship with Five, you see it with, Echo, you see it with, I don't know, I'm making up.
Like Hardcase or Top or, well, Dogma especially in that one, the first episode of the Umbar arc.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
And I mean, the clones the Torch Company almost represents different parts of Anakin. Hardcase is the absolute psychopath part of him. Rex is the honor-bound, caring about the Republic. Tup is the kid in over his head. Fives is the kind of weary person. Echo is the, almost episode one, we always got to do the right thing kind of character. Like, they're all different elements of Anakin.
Yeah, I think that's what adds a bit of extra layers to him because he has all these different people around him who are kind of like him. I love
And you can even argue that maybe he made them have those personalities a little bit.
maybe. I love the first part of the Umbara arc, just seeing Anakin commanding his troops and how they all work together.
Mm-hmm. Because again, like he's partners with them. They're not just his tools.
Right, that's later.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so would you argue there's different Vaders as well? I mean, I guess there's different Vaders in terms of time, but
Oh yeah, I would definitely say yes. I would. I would definitely say there's there. If you want to just get, if you want to go by movies alone, you have, and they do this really well in the comics and the EU stuff, even the new canon stuff. You have episode 3 to episode 5 Vader. Then you have episode 5. No, no, not episode 5 Vader. A little bit before that, you have episode 3 to comic book Vader. Then you
mm-hmm.
have comic book Vader to episode 5 Vader, and then you have episode 6 Vader.
I would almost argue that episode 4 Vader's his own character, and the fact that that was written without the intention of him being Anakin Skywalker.
Well, I know from a technical. I mean, I'm just talking in universe. Out of universe.
But even in universe though, he acts pretty differently.
I'd argue that
He's not as tactical, I would say. He's a little bit less. I don't know. You don't get the impression that there's more going on behind his eyes. Those lenses, I mean.
that is true. Although I think the books and comics have done a pretty good job because, for me at least, in universe, episode 3 to episode 4 Vader is almost a character who's pretty much given up. Like he's like, I'm stuck like this now. I'll just make what I have to do. I'm angry. I
Mm-hmm.
just do what the Emperor tells me. I do what.
Well, I mean, read the Purge series of one shots. I mean, get the Star Wars Empire comic. It does a really good job because the whole thing about the title The Purge, it's not just about the Great Jedi Purge. It's also about Palpatine keeps saying to purge emotions, his emotions, and it's kind of about he lets some Jedi get away, or he takes down 15 Jedi at once, but it's just he's like a little kid just angrily killing them instead of with any finesse, and he gets injured and like he gets hit by some blows, like his suit starts to break, and he gets his troops killed. And in fact, he has to get saved by Appo.
I just thought.
Like he's a whiny little like he's still Anakin Skywalker just wearing a Vader suit and with serious rage issues.
Right. I just thought of something actually, which we could do a little compare and contrast with the new and old canon. Um, do you think Vader should regain any ambition after he finds out about Luke Skywalker? Because if Force Unleashed was still canon, he's been trying to overthrow the Emperor for a long time.
Yeah, and I hate that idea. I prefer the idea that he like essentially the idea in the old EU was kind of that he just broke with I mean, Force Unleashed isn't even really a good representation of classic EU Vader because the idea in like stuff like Lost Command and everything is that he by about year 2 and also like he kind of is against Palpatine and stuff like Dark Lord, the Rise of Darth Vader, and the Purge comics and Lost Command, but
Anakin already had plans to take over the Empire, although I think that was just
yeah.
written in because we gotta match it up.
Well, I think it does kind of make sense though because it is the Sith way. I mean, like the thing in the comics was he doesn't like Palpatine. Of course, that whole thing about in Lost Command where he finds or not Lost Command, Dark Times where he finds out that they're keeping slaves and stuff like that. And like but the thing is, he lets that go, or he doesn't let it go, but he almost becomes like a shell. Like it's almost the fact that he realizes just how evil he really is, and in doing so, he just accepts it and lets go.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's why I've always said Vader is a character who's given up, or at least episode 3 to 5 Vader.
Well, in episode 3, I mean, like post episode 3, he was still fighting a little bit.
Right.
and then he kind of just he snaps at it, or not snaps, but like he reaches this point, especially like Lost Command, where, or not Lost Command, Rise of Darth Vader, where he just kind of, because he's not Vader yet, he's still Anakin Skywalker wearing a suit, and he gets to this point where he doesn't care. He's just gonna be the lapdog of Palpatine, and the Tarkin novel kind of supports that, where he starts to kind of act like a person again, and the new canon does something where he sees Luke with his lightsaber, and that starts to make him curious, and that starts to make him a little bit better. And then when he finds out that it's his son, he says, "It will be mine," or "He will be mine. It will all be mine."
I have the Vader comic right here with me. I'm looking at that page right now. Like, this is where I think the transition happens from Episode 4 Vader to Episode 5 Vader.
And of course, in the old EU, you kind of get bits of that and stuff like, or at least in a small way that's not necessarily the same thing. I almost feel like you could write this back into continuity, it would be perfectly fine. The idea that he crash landed on this planet with like one small Imperial outpost, and like he's from the Empire comic, and he's trapped with like these hyena dogs, and so he kills a few of them. It's really awesome. Like he kills some of the hyenas, and then like he's in charge of the pack, and he says almost like in his mind he's like he almost doesn't want to go back, or not he doesn't want to go back, but he almost wants to. But he's enjoying this. He feels young again. He's actually feeling like a warrior almost. And like you kind of get a little bit of the change there. He's starting to enjoy fighting a little bit, and then finding out. Then you can compare that up where finding out that he has a son is the thing that gives him ambition again.
That's exactly what I was saying, you know. And that's why I kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, Force Unleashed kind of ruins that
Mm-hmm.
idea of it should be Anakin, not Anakin, Luke that kind of restores Vader's ambition.
Mm-hmm.
So here's something I wanted to add. Star Wars Rebels Anakin as well. I think that's a good that's a good um, that's a good example of that Vader between episode 3 and 4. He's already shelled out inside and kind of Palpatine's lapdog, but he's still very ruthless and callous. Because obviously
Mm-hmm.
it's still based off of Anakin from 3D Clone Wars. Now it's Vader, so they got to get the right Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not you haven't seen the Vader episodes, haven't you?
No.
Oh, you gotta see those episodes. Those are some of the best stuff. That's the best stuff. Say what you will about Rebels, but they make sure to make Vader threatening.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't really watched much Rebels. I mean, just today, I have to confess, I was on the Facebook page that says Star Wars Rebels sucks, and I was looking at that and couldn't help but agree a little bit.
I don't think so. I think it's cool. Who read the guy named Corey?
I don't know, I didn't check.
Okay. Um, who was it doing? But yeah, that's a good example as well of that game. And now let's go to
What
the
will happen when he meets Ahsoka in this stuff is what I'm curious about.
well, they're gonna hit that actually in the next episode.
I mean, what will happen? Like, what do you think his reaction will be?
That's a good question because in that trailer, the vision at least is Anakin kind of is upset that he left. I don't really know. That's gonna be interesting. Anger, rage. I don't know. That'll be interesting. It's gonna be interesting at least to see his reaction.
I guess it's supposed to be like his attitude towards her leaving, or is it supposed to be like, uh, is that supposed to be like just the good part of him being like reflected? Like we don't really know at this point.
Yeah, I'm curious to see like does he blame her? Is he just upset? Is he just he wasn't very when they revealed the series. When we first found out Ahsoka was alive, he was just all like, this is spoiler for Rebels folks. He was just the apprentice lives. Like he wasn't even like upset or mad. He was just like,
Which I don't necessarily like that reaction.
well, Vader always considered Anakin Skywalker to be a different person.
Yeah, to be fair, but I feel like he'd be a little bit more shocked than that.
I don't know if it's just like the performance or anything.
Maybe it will be like seeing her again will.
Well,
I don't know. Though I'm glad it's not the way it is in the Dark Lords book, because that kind of screwed up some stuff in my mind.
what
Uh,
Dark Lord's book?
Well, I was just watching last night, and the Force.net, not Force.net, the Force people's,
Forcecast.
yeah, the Forcecast. They're what do you call it? Their review kind of thoughts on Dark Lord, and what they had talked about was what do you call it? The Dark Lord and Dark Lord Master Darth Vader, and what they were saying was that he was too like late in the game to be thinking about oh sorry, Lords of the Sith. Well, no, they were talking about Dark Lord during it. I mean, and how it's a little too late in the game, like for him to be tempted to be more like Anakin. Like he goes to Ryloth and he starts thinking about Plo Koon, and they're like, "Why would he be thinking about Plo Koon? He wasn't even close to Plo Koon." And
Was close to Plo Koon.
yeah, and then he they're like even him here talking about it, thinking about Ahsoka, like that's fine, but why would he be like, "Oh my gosh, Ahsoka"? Like
I would be that way though if I were Darth Vader. I would totally be. Oh,
yeah, I mean, my thing is just what do you call it? I don't know, like it should have been just a little bit later in
Should be earlier.
oh sorry, yeah, earlier.
Oh yeah, I saw the Lord of the Sith review. It was. I even told you about it.
Yeah, I just don't feel like I don't know because I want him to react a little bit more to Ahsoka, but at the same time I don't want his reaction to be
Oh my god, it's so good. You. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't.
yeah, and that's kind of his reaction in Lords of the Sith where he reacts to it like oh my gosh Ryloth, and I feel like it should be like maybe seeing her in person will be like holy shit it or something, or like maybe her beating him up will do that, but like she could actually beat him up. Nah, it's too late in the game. He's adapted well enough.
Well, I don't know.
But
I was looking at Antoine's Facebook page, and he thinks that maybe this new Vader isn't as good with his lightsaber dueling skills as he used to be.
mm,
And even if you go to episode 1, no, not episode 1, episode 5, Luke does manage to hold his own pretty well against Vader.
yeah, but I think he was toying with them.
I don't know, he gets a few punches in.
Yeah, but Vader's kind of stage managing.
That's true. Have you read Lords of the Sith?
No, not yet.
Everyone says that's the best stuff.
They funny enough didn't like it.
I know, except Antoine, he loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny because that was the one we were talking about earlier, where the Heir of the Jedi one, Antoine didn't like that one. But yet nobody liked the Lord of the Sith one. Although I kind of like how Antoine kind of gets the final word by saying it's #1 New York seller's best list, which it didn't make it.
Mm.
I still think you gotta read Lord of the Sith because I know Steve, Dan like it. I'm trying to get you to read it too.
Yeah, I definitely need to read. But we should probably start talking about this again. But that's back to kind of the thing of Vader in the new canon. I think it's kind of just a progression of previous Vader, except maybe Rebels. We have to wait and see.
I think Rebels Vader is pretty fine. He's definitely they definitely do something in Rebels which I really like. They showed off Vader's piloting skills.
I like that.
You saw that clip of Vader?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that clip. I like that's something we've been seeing in the movies, which is funny because, well, to be fair, we didn't know Vader was going to be Anakin in Episode 4, but we never see Vader pilot again, sadly. But Vader actually is an actual good pilot, like he's doing dog flips and back flips and tricks, and he's going single file. Rebels Vader, I think, is pretty consistent to what we get. Obviously he's not, obviously he's not gonna chop off that head. He might chop off that head, but we're not gonna see. But he's pretty, he's not being silly or anything like that. He's still stoic and very.
Yeah, the one thing in that show that's not
Well,
gummed down, in my opinion.
No, they're not gonna tone down Vader. I think they have too much respect for him. I mean, I would. I mean, it will be interesting Ahsoka what his ultimate reaction's going to be. Like, cause I'm curious, like, just how he feels about her leaving. Like, did he
I
see
think
it?
maybe he won't emote
Oh, I can see.
too much about her until maybe he kills her, and then he kind of has a moment of holy shit, what just happened.
Well, I don't know. Vader's a
Like it
very
won't snap him out of it, but it will. He'll have a reaction.
yes. I can't see him like yelling like you did this, did blah. Kind of like how episode 2 and 3 Anakin would. Like,
Hmm.
but maybe there'll be like a cold anger because Vader's always been good at that. Very cold anger.
I think what might happen maybe is somebody else will kill her, and
I
like
actually have a theory on this, and we're kind of backtracking because I want to say this theory right now. I say they do reverse Jedi, where it's the Emperor doing his electrical thing on Ahsoka, but Vader does nothing this time.
or maybe like he beats her and they're gonna capture her,
I could see them
and then
doing
Palpatine just like strikes her down, and like it's just the suddenness, like he has no time to react. It's just boom, she's dead,
I could see
and
that.
just like the shock of it just makes him like
Oh,
stop.
see that's my theory too. I think Palpatine's gonna kill her
Well,
because
I thought it might have been like Callus or somebody, but I think Palpatine would be more fitting,
no,
especially because he finally gets to execute her after after all this time.
Callus is getting the redemption arc. But yeah, I can definitely see the Emperor doing it. I feel like
No, somebody without those sideburns has to be evil.
well, no, they're hinting at redemption arc. I can definitely see the Emperor doing it. I can even see like reverse Jedi again. Like, our friend, our fellow, or well, not our friend, but we don't know him, but fellow Jedi, Star Wars fan. Is it Reddy? Reddy always was the one who said that Luke or Ahsoka are the only two people in his mind that can get through to Vader.
Hmm.
So if they go with that and they do the Return of the Jedi thing where the Emperor's torturing Ahsoka and Vader just watches,
Well, I don't want him to be just watching though.
that is I don't know. I feel like there's some poetry to that if you just have him watch and he does nothing because he's
Yeah, but I think it would be better if it's he has no chance. So then when he does have a chance with Luke.
you know what I like that even better. But I do agree with you. I think the Emperor is going to be the one to kill her. I think she could actually live at the end of season 2, but she gets captured by the Emperor because the big thing with Ahsoka is that she might lead them to other Jedi, such as
Hmm.
Kenobi, because he still hates Kenobi. That's like the
Hmm.
one thing that about Vader. He wants Kenobi dead, and that's why I'm actually kind of excited that they're bringing Darth Maul because, like, think about it, the two people who want to kill Kenobi meet each other. Because Darth
Oh yeah, they must hate one another because they both want him dead. I mean, like that's actually how the Jedi. It was like the 13 Jedi who confronted Vader like a month or two after Revenge of the Sith. That's how they got him to go after them. Actually, was they said that Obi-Wan was there.
right, because he
He wasn't, but that was the way of calling him out
right.
in the Purge.
So let's use this transition since we were talking about the Emperor and stuff to get to what I call episode 6 Vader, because I feel that too, while it is definitely a progression of episode 5 Vader, does feel very different because episode 5 Vader, as we all know, he was like just killing people left, right, and center, except for Admiral Piet, who survived all the movie and got to be in the next one. But Captain Ida died, Admiral Ozzel died, he deserved it.
No, he feels Piet.
No, he didn't kill Piet at the end of Empire. Don't you remember? That's the whole joke. He just moves past Vader. No, he just moved past Piet and just kind of leaves him because he's so preoccupied about the whole revealing of his son. Piet's a Jedi, dude. Remember, I watched. I know what my Empire and my OT trilogy pretty well.
Oh yeah, he dies when he died
He
though.
does die, just but not by Vader's hand.
I always forget that with the with the A-wing pilot who's like ah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like Vader in Jedi is definitely a kind of. I feel like he mellow. Like, I don't want to say he mellows. That's a bad word. That seems like he's going soft, but he kind of is going a little soft now because he's dealing.
Well, everyone goes soft in that movie. Especially the Ewoks, because they're plushies.
Except the Emperor.
No, seriously though, that we when we get to that, I will have an epic rant about the stormtroopers.
Yeah, but I'll still love it anyway. There's too much goodness for me in that movie to hate it. And I mean, I know another Star Wars. I know the Fourth Council fan. Not ready, not entered.
Evan.
That's his favorite too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we have to get Evan. We can talk about the Jedi. But yeah, but again,
What's great is though he bashes the stormtroopers in that more than the others do.
That's true, but
Like he's like, I love that movie, but holy crap, that was horrible.
well, I still love that movie too, and I'll pretty much agree with you in probably every point. But yeah, anyway, back to Vader. I feel like that Vader's definitely a lot more soft. He's dealing with his son. He's dealing with issues, etc., etc., etc. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. I feel like Vader's turn is too easy in my mind, or at least too easy for redemption. I don't consider it to be a redemption. If you consider it to be a redemption, then I think it's too fast. If it's just he does the right thing finally again, then I'm okay with it.
Clearly, the movie considers it a redemption because he gets a Force Ghost.
Which JJ was gonna do in the coolest way possible. Not JJ actually, the guy who did the art came up with that idea and like quoted that one novel that he really likes. Like that one quote, whenever you light a candle, you cast a shadow. It's like, that's a really cool idea of Vader has a Force Ghost, but he also has almost a dark side Force Ghost.
He has, I thought they used that in Episode 8 or a future film. So that means they had to bring back Hayden Christensen. But
I mean, Legacy does that, where there's Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost, and then in a specific location there's Vader's.
That's cool. Although I kind of like the dual Force Ghost, like two people in one body Force Ghost, even better. I think that's more
Though for all we know, it was gonna be that there were two Force Ghosts and they just merged into one.
true.
Because we do see good Anakin.
That's true. But yeah, I hope they do that. That's a cool idea. So yeah, do we have anything else we need to discuss about Anakin or Vader? I mean, maybe the last thing we can discuss is how the two consider themselves to be two separate people, which they are, definitely.
Yeah.
The other things,
Well, it depends on which Anakin, which Vader.
oh, that's true. I mean, if you're more like 3 months out or even Sith, then you kind of got the same person there. But if you're more, episode.
Tarkin.
No, Tarkin's by that point he's Vader.
Well, I mean, by Tarkin, he is broken Vader.
He's I don't care anymore, Vader.
Until, of course, he starts talking to Tarkin, and then he's almost a person again.
Yeah. Too bad we can't talk about episode 7, because I could go get a whole spiel about the differences between Kylo Ren and Vader, but let's not get there. That'll be all day.
Yeah.
But anything else you want to add? Rebels Vader, Conflict Vader. I have the comic actually with me right here. Maybe we could just for one more little small point. Vader's relationship with the Doctor, and not Doctor Who, that female Doctor.
Yeah. I really like that. That, like, female Indiana Jones character. That's really cool, and I like the fact that, like, it actually reminds me a lot now, after having read Shatterpoint, it's a lot like Mace's relationship to Nick.
Oh, I never read it.
It's really close.
I probably want this to be like a parody TV scene, like Vader and his crew going around the galaxy, killing people.
And of course, that actually continues in episode 1 thing.
Get like the A-team,
But yeah, that kind of does continue in episode 1 thing in a lot of ways. The fact that he really is good with like robots and stuff like that, with droids.
Oh yeah, I kind of glad they continue. It's always cool to see in a comic Vader just tinkering like Anakin. Like there's something like seeing like Vader just sitting in his little chamber with a screwdriver with a robot working on it.
Which Clone Wars did pretty well as well.
So yeah, that's. Ooh, I think we forgot to do. We didn't talk about one big thing. His relationship with Padme in each version. Although.
Let's see.
B2.
Makes no sense, makes no sense, makes no sense, makes no sense, makes no sense. Yeah.
Although I think 3D Anakin did probably the best job of portraying it as sort of like he's a controlling husband. It's still creepy.
Yeah, that actually
It's
works.
still creepy. She should have left him long ago.
Yeah. I mean, he starts, like, beating the living shit out of Clovis.
Yeah.
Which I loved so much, because I freaking hate
This
Clovis.
is funny. I'm the only person who likes that banking arc for some reason.
It's a banking arc.
I don't know, but it's Palpatine. He gets to manipulate the banks so he can take them over. That's kind of cool. I like.
But he already did that, because he already has control, because Damask Holdings.
Oh yeah.
Once that we play, I guess I'll be able to talk about that more in depth. But which actually I just started.
I think they do some interesting stuff with Vader and Palpatine's relationship. I can find the Iron book for you.
Well, I just started Splinter of the Mind's Eye today.
Isn't that the? I always forget that. No, that's the one with the star. I always forget which one's the bad one.
That's Crystal Star.
I wonder why I think Mind's Eye's the bad one. Maybe they're just my head. But yeah, I think that's all we covered. We kind of went over his relationship with Obi-Wan already.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is the 3 Anakins, although now it's more like the 3 Anakins and the 3 Vaders.
And arguably more like 2 Anakins.
I think I got confused when I was thinking of the versions of Anakin. I didn't see how they kind of meshed.
So we'll probably call this like Anakin discussions or something. I guess.
So yeah.
Retrospective.
Skywalker character. How about Anakin Skywalker character study?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, folks, that is the Imperial Holonet. Until next